Welcome into Pirate Talk. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, great defensive back at East Carolina in the late 1990s and spent a lot of time working on the Pirate Radio Network, and we're pleased to have him with Bonesville and Pirate Talk, and we'll move into the Pirate Pregame podcast next week on Bonesville. But this will be our last edition of Pirate Talk probably for a few months. But Kevin, a lot to talk about in terms of the football program, and there's been a quarterback competition between Mitch Griffis, transfer from Texas Tech, who started his career at Wake Forest, and Emory Williams, who transferred from Miami, and very close competition. Coach Blake Harrell announcing that Mitch Griffis will start for the Pirates at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. And honestly, a couple different things there. One, Coach Harrell said that he felt like Mitch Griffis was maybe better suited for the style of offense they're running, right? That kind of air raid offense. He's got the ability to run a little bit, also gets the ball out quick. And the second thing I would add there is you're on the road at Alabama. Alabama has, I don't know how many 5-star players, how many 4-star players. They have just a ton of athletes. And, Emory Williams is a good player, just not extremely mobile. And so I think if you're going to be, on the road, tough crowd, starting a brand new quarterback, you at least want somebody that can maybe scramble and avoid a sack or two if everything breaks down. So I get it. I think we'll see both of the quarterbacks, not only against Alabama, but throughout the year until somebody establishes themselves. But I do think Griffis gives you that little added ability to kind of scramble and make things happen on the run.
Mitch Griffis, I remember him watching him when he was at Wake Forest, and he came in after Sam Hartman. He was kind of groomed to be Sam's replacement, and they ran that kind of slow mesh offense there at Wake, and it was Dave Clawson's style. And Mitch Griffis just could not make some of the reads that Sam Hartman could make. And I don't really think they adjusted the offense to fit his abilities. And Coach Clawson got kind of frustrated at times with some sacks that he took and some passes that he didn't throw and took sacks. And anyway, he changed quarterbacks, and I think they played a guy that wasn't as talented as Mitch at the end of that season. And then Mitch was out of football. I think he just kind of was so frustrated and disappointed maybe that he was initially indicated he was going to transfer from Wake, and then he just left football entirely. I read that he was he had him a day job pouring concrete at one time. And you and I were talking to say, playing football is a lot better than that probably. And he ended up playing a season at Texas Tech and kind of restoring his confidence a little bit and coming to East Carolina. But, I heard Mitch after the spring game saying, he doesn't have to be the end-all, do-it-all guy. He just has to get the ball in the hands of some guys that can make plays.
That's right. And at the high school level, which, I still have a son playing high school ball, you have to be adaptable as an office coordinator because you're going to get different kids every year, right? Just to whoever comes through there. And so if you got a kid that can run around a little bit, okay, then you have to adapt your offense to him. If you got a kid that's more of a drop back, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady type passer, then you got to adjust the offense around him. And that's just what it is in high school. But once you get to the college ranks and the professional ranks, you can decide who you want at those positions. You can recruit certain types of quarterbacks. You can, sign certain types of quarterbacks in the portal and things like that. So, Jordan Davis has got an offense that he likes. He likes to run. Ran at North Texas. It's a certain type of a quarterback that runs the offense. Doesn't mean that Emory Williams can't run it. They'll certainly make some tweaks so that he can run it as well. But for right now, it sounds like the offense is more suited towards Mitch Griffis. And so I think we'll see, him have the whole offense ready to go game one and see how he can do in it. But yeah, it's a toss up between the two of them right now, and you got to pick somebody so you can get the team rallied around those guys and get ready to play.
Talking about quarterbacks, and butter Monroe there for Green Level last week, stepping in a situation of need for the Gators, and big game against Athens Drive last week, 4 touchdown passes. He's playing on both sides of the ball. I think he had an interception, returned some punts, and ran for a touchdown, if I've got my numbers right.
You do, and it's funny. That kid is, Lord is looking out for him, because the first time he touched the ball as a freshman, he took a punt to the house, and then this year the first pass he threw as a quarterback was a 60-yard touchdown pass, and so he's doing well. I don't know that he's a quarterback. He may be one day. I don't know that he's a quarterback. Right now he thinks he's a receiver and a defensive back. But the team lost their quarterback in June, and so they asked him to play the position. So he's stepping up and doing what he has to do for the team. And he had a really good game 1. And so we'll see. Athens Drive, humbly speaking, they're not the best team on our schedule. May not be in the top 6 or 7 of the best teams on our schedule. So he had a good game to kind of get his feet wet, as they say. And so they play Broughton this week, and that's going to be a much tougher opponent. Matter of fact, they've got a 4-star defensive end that's their offers from everybody in the country. And so when you play quarterback, you're aware of a 4-star defensive end. And so they're going to have to do a couple things, kind of Myles Garrett and Parsons-esque, where they always send a tight end or somebody to chip him, get in his way, and slow him down so they can run their offense. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, great start to his high school career as a quarterback, and we'll see how it goes this week.
That's right. And when you talk about quarterbacks, there are a lot of variables that go into making a good quarterback. I had a neighbor from Alabama one time, and he said, well, you like to write about the quarterbacks and running backs. He said those guys wouldn't do anything if they didn't have somebody blocking for them.
That's right.
And so East Carolina feels good about the guys they've got. They brought in to play on the offensive line. We were talking a little bit about the running backs, and Ashton Gray, TJ Engelman are good to go for the Alabama game right now. It looks like Michael Allen, that his status is to be determined by how he comes back from a hamstring injury in the first scrimmage. But some good running backs. We've talked about receivers. Brock Spalding, of course, a known quantity. And Ray Joseph, everybody real excited about his talent. And then there are some more. Jeremiah Melvin transferred from Wake Forest, and the Pirates like his physical skills. And you've got Sides, I believe it is Landon Sides, came with Jordan Davis from North Texas. So a lot of potential around that quarterback to make that offense go.
Yeah, I think the receiver position is huge. I mean, Spalding is going to finish his career as one of the better receivers at East Carolina. I mean, I have all the stats with just his ability to go catch the deep ball, but also be a possession receiver. Mind you, Tyler Snead a little bit, and his abilities and his toughness. And so I like him a lot. Ray Joseph came over from Miami, as you mentioned, with Emory Williams. And so, I wonder, I'd love to hear him talk about the quarterback situation and his thoughts on it. And, having played with Emory and thought enough of Emory to want to come to East Carolina knowing that he might be the quarterback. And so obviously that's changed for now. So we'll see how that goes. And Sides is another one that they're very excited about. He did some good things at North Texas. So, yeah, at the receiver position, they're going to be strong. And I think that's what East Carolina's known for. Anthony Smith is working his butt off right now in the camp at Dallas trying to make that team, and he's shown himself very well up there. And the Pirates have just had, tons of good receivers over recent history and over a long history. And so you just expect that when you're at East Carolina. We're going to throw the football, so you got to have somebody to go out there and make catches. And so running back, I think we're all excited to see what Mike Allen can do when he's healthy, but you never want to rush back from a hamstring. And so hopefully he's, by game day, he'll be good to go. If not, you got some other guys that can get it done. Ashton Gray is one we've been hearing about transfer. Of course, we know about TJ Engelman and what he did last year, and I felt like he really sparked the running game last year when other guys were not quite hitting the hole quite right and getting it done. He was making it happen. So I think the running game will be strong as well. And so those things will help Mitch Griffis, and then in the offensive line up front. I mean, we've got some transfers that are going to be making the difference. So not a whole lot of Pirate fans have seen these guys play. We lost, a handful of guys that got starts last year, at least 3 that got starts, maybe 4. And so we had to replace those guys. And these days, you don't want to start with freshmen and sophomore offensive linemen. You want to get some older guys in there. And so they're full of juniors and seniors up front. And so I think those guys will be fine. It's just getting used to getting reps together, and also getting used to the quarterback, right? Because the timing of the quarterback matters a lot in your blocking. And so if you get rid of the ball quick, you don't have to block as long. You can kind of punch harder and know the ball's going to be out. And the running back that's behind you matters as well. So lots of different moving parts for that offensive line, but I expect to see good things from them here early in the season.
Kevin, I heard Coach Harrell at his news conference Thursday saying that he was asked about J.D. Lampley, and J.D. Lampley was practicing with the Pirates, and supposedly the court ruling meant that J.D. and Marlon Gunn and Sam Danka, class of 22 recruits, were not going to be able to play, that the 10th District Court had upheld a motion from the NCAA that would not allow those players to play. But evidently, there's the possibility of some legal wrangling. And, I know East Carolina doesn't have a law school, and maybe hopefully there's a friendly judge somewhere that will hear that and make a favorable ruling. But for them to be approaching it and allowing J.D. Lampley to practice, I don't know about Marlon and Sam Danka, but that would indicate to me there's a possibility of those guys being on the field at some point in 2026. And Blake Harrell, and he's looking at it from all angles. He said, I guess there's a possibility. It's like the COVID year. You could have somebody for a couple of weeks, and then they're tested or they're exposed, and you don't have them for a couple of weeks. And instead of the virus, it would be a situation in the courts. But there's that possibility has arisen there.
It's a weird deal. I mean, the first thing I think about is the situation where the kid that was playing for the Cleveland Browns was cut and, was going to go back to Ole Miss, but now his coach at Ole Miss is now at LSU. So he was going to come to LSU and play his last year. And LSU's got an All-American tight end already in Tre'Davious Green. And so, I know he's thinking like, what do you mean you're going to come here? And so it got national attention. And then all of a sudden the SEC had a vote, and the SEC decided we're not taking any players from the NFL that come back down. So now I think that ends that kid's, at least his college career. And so, yeah, similar thing. Anybody that was in the class of 2022 that finished up last year didn't get that opportunity to play their 5th year, can now go back to college, so they initially said. And then, as you mentioned, the judge put a kibosh on that. But as we've seen in this process, lots of different court rulings. It just takes one judge. Lots of different court rulings have been able to allow people to play. The quarterback at Ole Miss, Chambliss, was told a number of different times that he couldn't play this year, and then got one judge to rule in his favor, and now he's playing this season. So, I fully expect. I'm not sure why all 3 aren't at practice. I'm sure that's individual reasons or whatever, but I'm glad to see Lampley at practice, and hopefully he does get an opportunity to play this year.
Well, I'm not sure if Marlon Gunn or Sam Danka were at practice, but Coach Harrell was only asked about JD, that somebody had seen him at practice. And so I'm really not sure what that situation is, but Coach Harrell did confirm that JD was practicing on the possibility that he might be able to play some at this point this season. As far as the NCAA's position on this and going to court to deny these players a 5th year of eligibility really is not what I think an administrative body should be about, because you've got high school players who are entering the college ranks now who will have 5 years of eligibility. And these players that came in 22, they're being ruled out after 4 years of eligibility. And Coach Harrell pointed out, the limited number of snaps that Sam Danka played. He didn't play anywhere near a full year of college football in one of the years that counts toward his eligibility. And so the NCAA is going to court to limit these guys from coming back and playing another year. And at the same time, you've got Mitch Griffis, nothing against Mitch, but he's getting ready to play his 6th or 7th year of college football. And so there's nothing equitable about it. And the NCAA should be about being fair across the board, in my opinion. And so the point there is at one time the NCAA was very passive. They were afraid of litigation, and they allowed this situation with NIL to develop. And I'm not against NIL, but they took a lack of action against transfers. And you had the situation developed to the point that you have college athletics in the state that it is nowadays. And the NCAA all of a sudden is coming back like they're the bad guys, and they're going to limit, these players' eligibility. And, Coach Harrell made the point, okay, 5 years to play 5 seasons. What about the guys that are medically limited? There's no provision for them to play another year. So the situation is far from being well-defined in a fair manner, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the major complaint, arose from COVID, which is what you were talking about, which was giving everybody a free year, and then the COVID year didn't count at all. And so you started having these guys with 6, 7, 8 years, guys that had injuries, guys that had regular red shirts. And so I think, last year was kind of supposed to be the last year of kind of the COVID people, COVID players. So if you entered college in 2022, then you would definitely be done by now. Even if you had a medical red shirt in the COVID year, you'd be done. And so I think the fact that you still had lingering guys out there that were in their 6th, 7th, 8th year made them kind of relook at this and say, all right, we need to clamp down. We need to make sure nobody has more than 5 years in. And I don't mind the 5-for-5 rule. I actually like the fact that they're giving kids 5 years to play. And I redshirted, so I was in college for 5 years, but I only got 4 years to play. And there was no 4 games. There's none of that. You did not play a single game your redshirt year. So I like the fact that the kids are getting 5 years. But I'm hesitant about the injury part of it, because there will be some kids that have season-ending injuries, and it may happen multiple times. And for them not to even consider that, I think, is unfortunate, because in some circumstances, having that medical red shirt is a big deal as it pertains to maybe going to the next level or what have you. So certainly a lot of things to figure out, a lot of things to fix in this scenario. And I don't know if the NCAA is going to fix it. Certainly Congress needs to stay out of it. So I just don't know how that's going to go down, how it's going to work out. Hopefully the schools have a lot to say about it, and they can vote and make the changes. But as it pertains to the NIL and the revenue share, I got one in college and I got one that'll be there in a couple of years. I hope they both get an opportunity to make all the money they can make to set themselves up for the rest of their lives. So I hope they don't clamp down on that too bad while mine are in school, because they've worked hard enough to earn it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I agree with you there, and certainly wouldn't want their earning potential to be limited. But, Alabama, we talked about a little bit on the last Pirate Talk, and they've had a quarterback competition. They have announced that Keelan Russell will be their starter at quarterback, sophomore. And to be honest, I was kind of pulling for Watt, because he's more of a pocket passer. I think that would be easier to defend. I know East Carolina has faced these guys before, and they call a pass, the pass is covered, and then they start a play with their feet, and that makes it difficult to defend. The guy at Syracuse years ago, that when you were playing, Kevin, that was Donovan McNabb. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Lord have mercy. He was the type of quarterback that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just starts another play when one play is shut down. So I think Keelan Russell, from what I gather, is that kind of guy. And so contain is going to be a big factor with him at quarterback for Alabama in the season opener.
Yeah, and the guy that they had just a couple of years ago was that type of quarterback. He's in the NFL now. I can't remember his name.
Jalen Hurts was that kind of
not
guy.
Hurts, but the other one.
Tua?
No, more recently than that. This guy just went to the NFL maybe last year.
Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
I know you're talking about.
he was the type
He was
of
the guy
quarterback
that lost to Washington.
That's right.
And
That's right.
DeBoer, they hired DeBoer after that.
And he was that type of quarterback. And so it's always tough. I can remember, the hardest loss of my college career was at UAB in 1999 when we were, at the time we were 9-1, the chance for a share of the conference championship. And they played their third string quarterback who come out running the option. And we didn't even know they had the option in their bag. And so that's something that they figured out that week. And so, running quarterbacks can just throw a whole monkey wrench in your defense's deal, which is, which I'm not calling Mitch a running quarterback, but he's certainly more effective running than Emory Williams. And so that should put a little bit of a scare into Bama and their preparation. And so, we'll see what happens. I know, we'll get into more of that next week in terms of breaking down Alabama, but they've got a ton of good players. They got a ton of good players, and what I love about it is that East Carolina, I think, is up for the challenge defensively. It's offensively that they're going to have to find a way to score the football, and that's what the game will come down to if the Pirates can get some stops. So that will be a fun one to prepare for both teams and for us in the media.
Well, you'll have Kevin's keys to the game ready next week, and we'll talk again then. And as always, good visiting with you, Kevin, and we'll look forward to the first Bonesville Pregame podcast of the 2026 season coming up next week.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Al.
God bless.